That's amazing. Yeah, because I love that you're pointing out about the mentorship and that people are not having to go into these situations alone, where they're already knowing exactly how far they can stretch themselves and how they're able to take that goal. It's mapped out, it's planned, and then they're able to execute this in a way that's simple. I'm hearing from you that it's safe, it's organized, and it's ready to propel in the direction that they've already preconceived in their imagination and worked out inside their mind, so that it takes all the guesswork and it takes all of the questioning, the fear, the anxiety. You can go in with confidence and you can go completely focused and aligned with exactly what you're wanting to achieve. And that result will be because of the preliminary work that they've done with you, so that they know exactly what they can get. They've got a team, they're supported, they're almost handheld, and they've got the mentorship so that they can go from A, B, and C and execute it easily, swiftly, and with confidence. And that's such a different place to be. Instead of panicking, making those emotional decisions, you're less likely to, and nothing is really a mistake, but you're less likely to react. You're going to respond, you're not going to react. And it puts you in such a much more confident place where you know that you're going to be successful, instead of scrambling around and being frantic and possibly creating a situation for yourself where you're going to be disappointed and not get what you want. I know, that's amazing, because that's a great segue for I wanted to talk about the knowing doing gap, and that's more about what is being discussed. And I just want to take a moment to read just a short paragraph in an excerpt. So
Mhm.
there's an enormous difference between what most people know and what they do, which is what we're discussing. We're raised in a world and received schooling for many years in a system where the focus is on taking in information and then recognizing the individual for how much they can remember. However, we are now living in a world that really isn't very interested in what you know. They're more interested in what you do. In fact, the only people that are being recognized today are the ones who can do things, who get the job done and get the results. And so I just wanted to share that because it just really puts it into perspective for people. I was listening to Jim Rohn, and he's such an inspirational. The man is absolutely amazing. And the knowing doing gap is so incredibly powerful, because I find that a lot of people, and even myself, when I'm growing and I'm stretching and I'm really reaching for what I want to, and I start getting uncomfortable, I can very easily get bogged down in that. And I can start focusing on that instead of going, this is just a temporary feeling. This is a moment in time. And I know that as I persist and continue, I'm going to get to where I want to go. And the knowing doing gap is a lot of times where people get stuck, including myself, because I know what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. And I know for myself, a lot of it is fear, and it's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of, am I going to succeed? Those kinds of thoughts. And I know a lot of people have them. Every time you stretch, you're going to deal with the old paradigms and the old beliefs, and all those old systems that you're not always consciously aware of. And the biggest part of success and growth is becoming aware of those old beliefs and then starting to replace them with the new ones. And that's what a lot of what we're talking about is, when we're building that dream and we have it embedded in our imagination, the gap between achieving it and moving towards it is not so much what we know, but it's what we do. And Jim Rohn says it's perfectly. He talks about, it's not the big decisions, it's the little ones. So when you're moving towards that big goalpost, do you have the mentorship? Do you have someone working with you? Are you, are you asking for guidance? Are you writing everything down? Are you checking within yourself? Are you taking quiet moments? Turn off the TV, Put the phone down, write it down, and look at what you're actually writing. Are you feeling what you're writing down? And success for myself and so many people, it's yes, the big decisions matter, but it's the little ones of every single day. And, I always find with mentorship, everybody helps you get more organized. And if you're unclear, even like where you want to go, but if you're unclear about those small steps and those base camps, that each decision that you make is going to build and grow to get you to that major decision. And we always go, yeah, we've got the perfect, finished product, but we need that mentorship to help us get there. And just in being able to go through those small base camps, set achievable goals for yourself that are going to move you in a smooth transition to get you where you want to go. And having a mentor, having guidance is somebody that's going to celebrate those wins with you. And every time you build upon those decisions, which is a win, every time we make a decision and it's firm and it's concrete, and, a lot of people say, burn the bridge, don't have the plan B, just go for the plan A. Every time we stay committed and we're persistent, those small decisions grow and build upon each other to get us where we need to go. And eventually, all those little wins that we celebrate, and it's really important to celebrate, don't forget not to do that. All of those little wins, eventually you turn around one day and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm here. It happened so quickly. And you didn't even realize it. And that's the joy in mentorship, in helping you go through the knowing doing gap, is that you don't have to do it alone. You have somebody that's going to maybe say, did you remember this? Maybe point out that, because we are so emotionally invested. We are so incredibly excited that sometimes we miss those little steps, or hesitation is, just sometimes we need a bit of we need some encouragement, and, we need somebody to point that out and bring that awareness to our attention, so that we're not getting bogged down and we're not confused and just, not quite focused with what we need to get done. And it's easy to be distracted. It's easy to fall back into comfort, and it's easy to fall back into your regular routines and just kind of make those small base camps not as important. You're like, well, maybe I had to cook dinner. Maybe I needed to take that phone call. I had another email that I had to answer. And just having that mentorship helps to put you in the direction of asking you, are these activities really worthy of getting you towards your goal? And sometimes just having someone ask you these questions just helps to bring you out of maybe where you're feeling stuck, or you're starting to slide back, or you're moving into that hesitation. Every time we procrastinate, that's doubt and fear. And so just having somebody bring that to our awareness, so that when those old behaviors we slide into without even being aware and noticing them, because we can slide really quick and it happens so fast because it's habitual, that we don't even notice that we're falling back into it. So the mentorship, again, so incredibly important. Having somebody be there with you, so that when you have your big seagull, when you have your big result that you're wanting to achieve, you're not falling back into old behaviors that can creep up so quickly because we're not conscious of them. We're not aware of them emotionally or mentally. They're defense mechanisms that will help protect us, but are they really getting us to where we want to go? And that is the difference, like what Jim Rohn talks about, between those big decisions that matter and those silent little ones that maybe we think are protecting us, that are actually hindering us from expanding, feeling uncomfortable, and going through the growth to get us to where we want to go. And eventually we hit the win, and, that's what changes it. And the next goal we achieve, and the next one that we set that's bigger and we stretch more, we have the confidence because we know we've gone through these stretching points. We know we've gone through the discomfort, and we start to build self confidence so that the next one we set and the next one we set, and each one becomes easier. And we know that with persistence, we're going to get there. And when we have a great team with us and we have a great team beside us, you're invincible. You're invincible because you can, and you know you will, and you're committed, and you've made a decision, and no matter what, you're going to get there. Yeah, and it's always about aligned action. And so when we're making these big decisions, we want to make sure we're aligned. And I love that people say, well, what does that actually mean? What does aligned action mean? It sounds really great. It's a great phrase, but what does that actually mean? I know when I first heard it, I was like, aligned action. Well, yeah, I know what I want, so I'm just going to go get it. Like, what does aligned action really mean? What does that entail? And so, aligned action is about your beliefs. So, if you're picking, you've got your results, right? You've got it written down. You know what you want. Okay, this is what I'm going to get. And do you actually believe it? So when it comes down to things, you can say, I want the pink and purple unicorn. Do you actually believe that there's a unicorn out there? And so, what are you really setting yourself up for? And so, when we start to make these decisions, what are your beliefs? And how do you feel about that belief? Is that so? When we're talking about alignment, are your emotions aligned? So let's just, I know a unicorn sounds ridiculous, but for some people, when they're saying, okay, well, I want to buy $1 million house, or I want to buy a $5 million house, whatever the number is for you, some people, it doesn't really matter. The point is, do you believe that you can achieve it? If you are moving into action and you haven't done the internal work first, if you haven't, first of all, made the decision, if you don't have any faith or belief in that decision, then what are you actually moving towards? Are you moving towards proving yourself that you were never going to do it anyway? Or are you moving yourself towards, yes, I know I'm going to do it because this is what I've decided, and I have faith in the universe that if I can see it in my mind, then I can get it. And this is where I find, and again, we're going to bring it back to the knowing doing gap, is that if you see it in your mind, the imagination, I've talked about this before, is the most important wheelhouse that we have. It is the most incredible gift that a human being could have. So when we're talking about, yeah, when, say you want to buy a house, what does that house look like? What are all these things? But if you have it in your mind and you have that belief that, oh, I'm never going to get that, or, oh, I'm going to 10x my business. Well, what actions are you taking to get there in order to do that? If you don't believe that it can be done, then why are you doing it? So aligned action means you've done the internal work. You don't have to worry about how. You don't have to worry about every single detail. That's not your job. But your job is to have that persistence and that decision inside you that no matter what happens, because you saw it in your mind and you made the decision that that's real, that you're going to get there. And so aligned action is having your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings all aligned with that end result. And if you're taking action before you've done that, before you've taken the steps, before you have that confident knowing, like when it's the same kind of knowing, like you ask somebody, well, what happens after the day? Well, it's nighttime. If the tide comes in, what happens next? People will say the tide goes out. That is a firm belief. They know that when the sun comes up, that the sun's going to go down and it's going to be nighttime. So when you're taking aligned action, you want to have that concrete belief. And again, you don't have to worry about how you're going to get there. That's not your job. But you need to have a really persistent, firm belief that you are going to achieve the result that you've imagined inside your mind. And if you're just like, okay, this is what I want, and you're going to rush out and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get there. And then you go home and you're like, if, and you're in that, then the decisions that you make are going to be from that belief system. And they're going to be from those feelings. And every action we take, most people, is from their feelings. They're not even aware of their beliefs because they're so fixated on their feeling. And if you don't feel you're going to get it, you're going to hesitate. You're going to make different choices because you're making them from a belief system that isn't in alignment with what you truly desire. And so it's so incredibly important that people really start to think about their beliefs, their feelings, and then the actions that they're moving towards. And are those actions in alignment with the end result and the end goal? And if you're finding gaps between the result, your beliefs, and your feelings, that is the knowing doing gap. And that's where mentorship and having somebody help you and guide you and be a part of the process is so critical, because those gaps are the difference between success and, success later, or success never, or giving up all entirely, or say you just don't take any action at all. You just go, oh, later, oh, next time, oh, maybe, or you just, like a lot of people, they give up entirely. And we don't want people doing that. That's why the persistence with your mentor is so critically important when you're first starting to do this work, and when you're first starting to enter personal development and really take on those big goals. And when your desires from your heart really start to emulate to you, and your heart and your feelings really start to show in the picture of your mind, and you start to get so emotionally involved and you become so passionate about what you saw, and you're like, if I see it, then maybe I really can do it this time. And this is where we want to get people to where they're so emotionally involved, no matter how difficult it is or how they perceive it. Your mentor will say, no, it's not. This is achievable. And this is how I've done it. And this is how you can do it. And it's such a game changer to get that success more quickly and to make those quantum leaps faster, so that you're not relishing anywhere that you really don't need to put energy into or be. You can do it effectively, efficiently, and with love and with faith, and just that solid knowing, and celebrating with your team, and just sharing, because stewardship is about people. All of our experiences are about people. We don't do this alone. Nothing we do is alone. It might feel that way sometimes, but when you get the right team and you get the right mentorship, you're invincible. There's nothing that you can't have, do, or be. Absolutely incredible. So powerful, so inspiring. Everybody, you know what? Take this, build your dream, start to grow, and just remember, mentorship is the key. And when you're ready, we're all available here for you. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next video. Hit like and subscribe.